Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar on mastering the digital era. It's so exciting to see so many of you here, eager to learn and to adapt to the ever-evolving digital landscape that's reshaping the way that Australians engage with online experiences. My name is Tara Christensen. I'm one of the National Customer Training Managers here at realestate.com.au. Today, we're really fortunate because we're going to be joined by Jared Scott, General Manager of Consumer Marketplace at REA, as well as Kane Wright, who is Head of Developer Product. Before we get into some housekeeping, I'd like to start with an acknowledgement. Since 1995, REA Group has operated on the traditional lands of the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung peoples, who have cared for and protected it since time immemorial. As the business has grown and established offices around Australia, we're grateful for the custodianship of the traditional owners of country across all our lands and recognize their continuing connection to lands, waters, and communities. We pay our respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultures, to elders past and present. Now, a little bit of housekeeping before I get started. There's going to be a Q&A. We have made some room for Q&A at the end of this webinar. So please, if you have any questions, we'd love to hear them, but please put them into the Q&A section. So not the chat, the Q&A section. We'd really appreciate that. And we'll try to get to all of them and try to answer all of them at the end. Also, please do stay till the end because we do run a poll to find out how valuable you find this information. And that helps us guide future webinars as well. So please stay on until the very end. This webinar is being recorded and will be on customer.realestate.com.au. So if you're looking for that recording or if you've been registered, you will also receive a recording as well. Now, I think we can all agree that in this era that we live and work in, it's been defined by some pretty major tech advancements. And as we navigate through this period marked by technological transformation, changing consumer demographics, and evolving expectations, we've seen a transformative shift. Today's consumer is digital first. And this shift has made digital relationships just as important as the ones that we form face to face. In fact, a lot of times they're the first impressions that we get is in that online space. So among your clients, those expectations for seamless, world-class digital interactions are higher than ever before. Consumers are demanding better experiences, and with this comes expectations around transparency and trust in how their data is managed. In fact, over the past few years, consumers have given us feedback and expectations, and Jared's going to cover some more of that in detail. But what we've noticed has changed, specifically post-COVID, is that consumers are comparing us less to other portals and more to global businesses and their last digital experience. And they're doing the same with you and your business. Apple has changed people's ideas around what privacy can look like. Uber gives us immediacy and has changed what we think is quickly versus not quickly for response time. Airbnb gives us curated experiences. Amazon combines both speed and access to any number of materials and products that are out there. And finally, Netflix also allows us that personalized and curated experiences. Highly digital savvy consumers in Australia, who are actually the most digital savvy in the world, are out there. And not only that, we're dealing with generations who haven't known anything but a digital experience. So your potential clients have never been more informed or had more data to make better decisions. In an era of information abundance, trust and curation are key. Digital first is often the way people are approaching brands and shapes their expectations of those businesses. We're going to help you meet those expectations. Next slide, please. Our session today is designed to help you meet those expectations by navigating the current landscape, understanding how these elements are reshaping our industry, and staying ahead of the curve. In the next 45 to 60 minutes, we're going to delve into several key areas, including NextGen, which is the next generation of property listings, which was developed using deep audience insights and emerging technologies and is already revolutionizing the property market. We're going to talk about project profiles, introducing some new features and why it's the most powerful way to market your project. And finally, some best practices for maintaining transparency and trust in an increasingly privacy-conscious world. Now, as a reminder, please use that Q&A function at the bottom of your screen, and we will do our best to answer those at the end as part of our Q&A session. But in the meantime, I'm going to hand you over to Jared Scott.
Good morning, everyone. Really happy to be here and to share a little bit about the journey we've been on at realestate.com.au to uplift our listing experience for all new homes customers. Thanks for the great introduction, Tara. Always love your energy. I'm going to be talking a little bit about what it now means for you to list with realestate.com.au in both your project profile and your house and land listings. In fact, any type of listing on realestate.com.au, whether it exists in buy, rent, or sold. I'm going to talk through a little bit about the journey we've been on and why we've gone in this direction. We're going to be talking about what we've built and how it works. And then we're going to finish with an overview of what you can be doing to take maximum advantage of these new tools and experiences. To kick us off, I think it's best to look back and then look forwards. Let's play a video that takes us through the last 30 years of life at realestate.com.au.
We know a thing or two about development. It's all about selling a vision for the future. And here we are. We're developing Next Gen, a better listing experience for new homes, with more ways to sell tomorrow, today. And we're just getting started.
Brief but succinct. We have been on a journey and we're continuing to go on that journey when it comes to supporting property seekers using realestate.com.au. New homes are a fundamental part of the Australian property landscape. Almost 1/3 of all properties that transact and settle annually are for new homes. These are homes that have never existed. And you all know this, but it's important to remember that buyers of these homes are buying without actually physically ever experiencing the product on offer to them. It's a really unique journey and one that we see so much opportunity for moving into the future as greater digital technology and greater tools and experiences come to life. But let's start by talking a little bit about the experience that we offer today. Maddie, next slide, please. If we think about the audience that we're talking to on a monthly basis, there's 12 million Australians coming to realestate.com.au and using our experience for just under 50 minutes every month. In that time, they're generating millions and millions of engagement. They're coming frequently, visiting many times over. They're running lots of different searches, hundreds of millions of searches, and they're looking at hundreds of millions of listings and project profiles. But the thing that they're doing more than any other job when using realestate.com.au is a visual thing. They're looking at property photos. This is something that's really important for our new homes clients and something that I often talk to them about. Yes, it's great to showcase the lifestyle. Yes, it's great to showcase the amenity in your projects and your land estates. But we are a property platform, and the number one thing consumers want to see when they look at a project or look at a house and land package is property photos. So always be sure to put property photos front and center in your planning. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that at the end of this presentation. So listings and images are important. The other thing that's really important to understand about realestate.com.au is where consumers are now spending the majority of their time and where they're generating the most engagement. And that is in our app. As consumers have seen the benefit of having the app in their pocket, receiving regular updates and notifications, having the app being contextually aware, having it available at inspections, we're seeing more and more of our users move from big screen experiences to doing lots of those same jobs in the app as well. So a lot of our experience is now designed first and foremost with the app in mind, because engagement of those audiences are so much greater, and so much of that audience are members of realestate.com.au. What does that mean? Well, they're doing more things on average than other property seekers. They're significantly more likely to inquire, they're significantly more likely to search and view property, and they come back to the app more frequently. This is important because it helps us understand their behaviors and how interested they are in the property journey so that we can best connect them to you. 70% of those app visits are for signed in members. So it gives us a really good chance to ensure that as a member of realestate.com.au, they're getting the latest and greatest information. And when they're ready to act, we can connect them to you as best as possible. Next slide. Thanks, Maddie. Now, in developing our experiences, we go through an always-on, iterative, and highly collaborative process. We're fortunate enough to have millions and millions of touch points with our audiences, so we can look at a lot of behavioral data. We also get a lot of feedback directly from customers, from developers, from builders, and from consumers themselves. So we're constantly working through that feedback and exploring patterns and ways to improve what we offer to buyers and sellers. As part of this particular project, we sat down with dozens of customers, and we also do very focused interviews and engagements where we show them ideas we have, experiences we're building, and we get their feedback. In totality, we've interviewed close to 60,000 people this year formally to help us drive our product development and to get that engagement and understanding of how well things will work. And we've run over 400 million experiments. That gives us a chance to accelerate our learning even quicker and to be really, really confident that what we're building and the problems we're solving are those that are most valuable to both you and our consumers. That's key because ultimately we're a marketplace helping connect buyers and sellers and balancing both sides of the equation. We need to get that balance right and ensure that not only are you talking to the most engaged audience, but when they're communicating and contacting and connecting with you, when they're attending your display suites, they're ready and clear and qualified on what they need next in their property journey. So getting that balance right is fundamental to everything we do at realestate.com.au. That's a lot of the setup and the context on how we got here and why we got here. Let's now have a look at a video or a moving image to help illustrate where we think the world is heading over time. Take it with a grain of salt. This won't be a next month experience, but this is designed to give you an indication of where we think we could go with more immersive experiences, deeper and richer content, and really a central point for the campaign and for the listings and projects you have to drive buyer engagement. We want to go to this deeply immersive experience that has transaction capability, that has opportunities to give more information to the buyer, to help them at various checkpoints in their journey, and to essentially get them closer to and directly connected to your properties and your projects quicker than ever before. So that's the future view of where we want to get to. Let's now talk about the initial start we've made. In late September, we launched our experience to deliver new imagery, new branding, and new context to realestate.com.au listings across our app and coming soon to our web experiences. These new experiences did a couple of things really, really impactfully. Firstly, we increased the amount of image visible in the listing. We also introduced a really great new feature called Tour the Project. This allows consumers to see your images and to understand the property like never before. Plus, we embarked on our first journey into AI enrichment, where we were able to highlight certain features or attributes of a listing to the consumer. These are all really, really important visual cues on the direction we're heading in and the impact we want to have moving forwards. There's also more subtle changes that we've made. We've increased your branding for both the project and the developer. We've made that branding persistent. So as a consumer scrolls through the different parts of the listing or the different parts of the project profile, that brand stays with them throughout. We've also increased the ways in which consumers can engage with that listing, particularly around saving and sharing. We've made them more prominent because we know that they're some of the leading indications of a consumer's interest in that project or that property. Essentially, we've surfaced the areas of listings that are really, really valuable to a consumer and optimized for those because we know that they create significant customer value. So not only does this experience look and feel great and is having a big impact on our consumers emotionally, we also know, based on all of our testing and all of the data analysis that we do, that it's a highly performant experience. We didn't want to just build something that looked great. We want to build something that works great for you and your campaigns. So some of the call outs here. 2 of the project is changing consumption on realestate.com.au. We are now seeing almost double the number of consumers look at every single image within their listing. That is a big, big jump. Now, we were already doing billions and billions of image views a month. We've essentially doubled the amount of consumption that consumers are doing. We've also seen our share interaction where consumers can share the listing or the project to other people. That's jumped by 15%. Buying property is a team sport, and we know that this is a really valuable indication of someone's interest. Consumers are spending more time on listings. Time is one of the most precious signals of someone's interest. If people are spending more time on your listing, which on average they are, we know that that's a great indication of their engagement and the interest they have in those projects and those properties. So we'll be doing more work to now turn that engagement into increased action, like video plays. We know that they're already up 24%. We see a really exciting future ahead to do even more with video to bring to life projects and to bring to life these opportunities that don't yet physically exist. I also now want to talk quickly about the journey we've been on with AI. We're very fortunate to have a huge amount of property data available to us at realestate.com.au. We also have a very significant understanding of our audience and the audience engagement occurring across the market. We've done lots of work to bring to life that value for our customers, whether it's supporting lead generation, whether it's the way in which text, image, and floor plans are utilized as part of our AVMs or enriched, whether it's the way in which listing engagement is optimized based on the patterns we see and AI recommendations, or it's the consumer recommendations that consumers get about a project or a listing that we think might be interesting to them. We've been doing this for over a decade, and now more than ever, we see an opportunity to amplify these experiences through more of realestate.com.au. Next slide, thanks, Maddie. So, what does that mean for you? Well, 5 years ago, realestate.com.au had a very, very simple app. We essentially served the exact same home screen to every single user. Fast forward 5 years, and we're now suggesting 7.5 million different recommendations across 40 layouts every single day. We want the app to be experienced and to look and feel different for every single user based on their needs. And that's designed to support you better connecting with the most relevant audiences possible on realestate.com.au. So whether it's direct connection to your brand, whether it's promoting your sales team and sales agents relevant to the consumer search, whether it's elevating projects, properties, content that may be interesting to that consumer, or helping them take the next step, We want the front door for the realestate.com.au app to continue to drive deeper and deeper engagement with properties that are relevant and useful and interesting to that consumer. Next slide. Thanks, Maddie. We also want to help you take advantage of that capability. And that's why over the coming months, as we move forwards, we'll be continuing to roll out more and more changes as part of our next gen listing experience. And those changes will include increasing our personalization footprint in the listing. So that it's not just the home screen and the front door to realestate.com.au that's personalized, but the consumers can get personalized context, personalized understanding of what they're looking at when they visit listings. We think this is a really, really exciting future for new homes, a really great way to help our audience of considerers. So those are people that are looking at new homes and established properties equally. It's a really great way for us to amplify the benefits of buying new and to help this part of the property landscape put their best foot forwards. So that's the AI and digital element of listings. It's not just about the content, it's also about the intent and engagement signals we get to help your listings perform even better. In summary, what I would wrap up by saying is there's a couple of things you can do straight away to take advantage of these new experiences. Firstly, I've emphasized it a lot, lots of high quality imagery, visuals, videos, whatever you've got, make sure they're optimized for consumers experiencing them in the app, but for putting your project in the best possible light. Lead with property wherever you can. Again, this is something we're going to continue to iterate on and deliver a lot more value around in the coming year. So expect much more to happen when it comes to visuals. And this is a really great opportunity for developers and new homes. Comprehensive and accurate information. We're still seeing lots of consumers underwhelmed and distrusting of the listings that they're looking at because there's not enough comprehensive information. Well, that information isn't made available to them easily. Lack of prices is still the #1 driver of dissatisfaction and developer builder distrust. Making sure you're putting as much price context or your price lists online is a huge way to help consumers understand what to expect and builds their confidence in taking action. We want to do more and more to bring audiences to your front door. To help your sales agent and your brand meet consumers face to face, we need to ensure that they've got options to visit projects, to visit display suites, to visit open homes via the listing. We're working hard to better connect those digital relationships you establish to the physical relationships that then play out when a consumer is considering their options. We're about to hear from Kane, who's going to talk a little bit more about ways that you can support more immediacy and urgency throughout the campaign you may be running. So as a project evolves or as a listing updates, things change. Share that context because that then triggers notifications. That then triggers ways in which consumers can come back into the experience, understand what's happening and the latest update from your project, and then take action. And finally, we get a lot of email inquiry generation in the new home segment. We know it's a really important driver of connection, but we also know that consumers tell us that often they don't feel like they've received a prompt or personal response. So ensure that your sales team are getting back to consumers as quickly as possible. Try and avoid automation, or if you do automate your responses, be sure to follow up on any personal or direct questions that have come through from that consumer. We look forward to moving forwards with you as part of this journey in Next Gen. As said, we're going to be doing a lot more value delivery over the coming months and years. We can't wait to share more about where we're going. Before we get there, I'm now going to hand over to Kane, who's going to tell us a little bit more about the near term for project profiles. Thanks, Kane.
Thanks, Jared. Hi, everyone. So I'm Kane. I lead the product design and engineering team that's 100% focused on new homes, working really closely with Jared and his teams, there's a couple of things that I want to talk about as part of today. The first thing is talk a little bit about like what is our strategy for project profiles? How are we starting to drive some of that consideration and intent that Jared referenced? And then the second piece is more near term. What are some of these value drop items that we're looking to launch between now and the end of Christmas and then early into the new year? Next slide, Mads. So one of the key topics that we talk about internally, and Jared really pushed on this button earlier, is how come to life. How do we make them more distinct? And the way I think about it, about our audience, is sort of like there's a couple of big buckets. There's people that are just looking at established only. And then there's another subset of our audience that's looking at established plus new, or predominantly new and established. And then there's the new homes audience that people just get it already. And so what we want to be doing is providing consumers with choice. We want to educate them, we want to inspire them, and ultimately our primary job is to get them down our funnel and into yours, either showing up in a display suite or a sales office or sending an inquiry to you that can then get worked at the top of your funnel through both your sales team and nurture campaigns. And so item number one really talks about leaning into the unique aspects of new and like really pushing that direction. Property configurations, flexibility, customization, but also simple things like NATER scores and sustainability scores. That's a big advantage versus an established property that was built 40 years ago. Standards have changed. Let's lean into that. That's a unique benefit for the new home space. The second piece is around educating and inspiring, and Jared's already talked about it, but you can't beat the drum enough on this particular topic. We need to be visual storytellers. In many ways, we're selling the dream. We've got to allow people to be able to grab onto it. And so immersive experiences and 3D tours and subsequent evolutions of our tour the project component that we just walked you through. But there's many other things that we can push in this area, and we're going to continue to do so. And then item number three is really just being more cognizant of how things are operating on your side. When we deliver a lead to you, you then obviously have a funnel of your own. And the buyer journeys are extending out, and you're working those leads harder than ever to get them to close. But we know at certain times you offer offers, promotions, or incentives to motivate that commitment to then get the property seeker to transact. And so we want to start to surface some of that within the REA experience so that we can do our job of enticing people and then getting them across to you with the right level of context as fast as possible. Next slide, Mads. And so going a couple of layers deeper, Jared sort of spoke to this before, but we did a new home study recently, and that's part of that sort of those research statistics that Jared mentioned. And one of the biggest barriers of comprehension for our property seekers was, I don't understand where this project is at in its overall life cycle. And so we're going to change that. This is an apartment example. And as you can see, there's going to be four major steps, sort of like pre-release, now selling, under construction, which will obviously go for quite some time as part of the development life cycle, and then ready to move in. And then you can build additional context as well by having like a progress bar that clearly communicates to property seekers where this project is at. We tested a number of these sort of executions, and we think this is going to really work for consumers. We've got validation there, and we've spoken to lots of customers that are very keen to sort of get this up on their project profile. The second piece here, and sorry, Mads, you can continue on there. Okay, perfect. The second piece is that this is a marketing moment. As the status changes, as Jared mentioned, we can send notifications via in-app nudges or via EDMs or various other REA touch points where we can start to surface this status. Think about the search results page in subsequent releases, search, being able to define your search based on this particular status, which just helps consumers be able to find exactly what they're looking for faster. When it comes to land estates, we've taken a slightly different approach. We know that there's concurrent stages that are running side by side. And so the left-hand side is articulating the latest update to do with this land estate. And there's a number of different options Here, this example says next release coming soon under the latest update badge, but could also say final lots now selling, or it's a new release. And then we've provided some free form text for you with a little bit of suggested text relating to stage name, description, or unique features. We've got a really tight amount of characters that we want you to execute that in, 64 characters. So we want it to be powerful and pithy for consumers to aid their comprehension and so that they get it quickly. And then on the right-hand side, we've also got this new feature called Key Detail. This example's got titled land, which we know is a really strong proposition for consumers, but there's also other components like register now for the next release, a really strong call to action that will drive people to inquire and get in contact with you. And then we've been on a little bit of a journey in this area. A lot of your key workflows are still in agent admin, listings management, campaign management, even some of your purchasing experiences. We're moving all of that and accelerating towards building everything into Ignite, doubling down on the advanced reporting that's already there. And so you'll see a whole bunch of our workflows showing up in Ignite over the next 6 to 12 months. And then all of our high value actions like this, where we need you to help us help you by collecting this new information off you. That's what's going to drive success. And so on the left-hand side is an articulation of the apartment experience. The key takeaway is we've got some drop-down boxes that will allow you to pre-select where you are at in terms of your overall project status. And then as you're keying in that information and providing us the information, we have a preview on the right-hand side. You'll literally be able to see how that component will show up within the property seeker experience. And then on the right-hand side, when it comes to land, Mads, would you be able to hit play on that mini video on the land slide? It's a little bit different. We're obviously capturing a lot more information. Again, we're drilling down on that key detail. Does titled land now available? Is it now selling? Or we're register now for the next release? And then, of course, there's multiple phases again, pre-launch, new release, next release coming soon, or the final lots now selling with all that free form text field. And again, you'll have that preview function that shows up and allows you to see how this would actually come to life within the REA app and on site. And then, of course, all of this is editable. You can go in at any time and update the details. We know things change, and we want you to fluidly keep this up to date. The more relevant and up to date this information is, the greater chance we've got of pleasing both the property seekers and also driving a really high quality interaction with you when we deliver that lead to you. Next slide, Mads. Changing direction a little bit, and you would have seen this come through in a lot of our communications. It's not just about the listing. It's about the entire REA experience. And so we've undertaken a number of tests and then rolled them and then scaled some of those tests over recent time. And this is another example where we're trying to open up our funnel. We're experimenting with parts of the search results page to ultimately drive more click-throughs to our projects. We recently ran a test in this area. You might be able to, if you squint, you can see it, but the map annotation, there's one with a number on it. And that number indicates the child listings that are sitting underneath that project to make the project stand out versus established listings. On the right-hand side, we've brought a whole bunch of new context into the tile that you see there, articulating the child listings, more information about the project, and then starting to surface more information relating to some of the child listings that are sitting within that project. That drove a very large increase in click-through rate as one of the design variants that we tested recently. We've rolled this out already to apartments, land estates, and retire are coming by the end of the year. Offers and promotions. So as I spoke about before, this is a little bit of a vision expression, and we want to be really thoughtful in this area. We know many of you today supply us with some of this information in apartments, kitchen upgrades, land estates. We're mentioning cashback offers that are often tied into other government guarantees. But we want to be cautious. We know that this is expensive on your side to actually offer a promotion or an offer or an incentive. And so we are going to tread carefully as we move into this area. And so one of the ways that we're going to sort of like crawl before we walk, before we run, is we're going to start experimenting with some of the government-orientated incentives that are spiking the market. Mads, next slide. And so one of the most obvious ones is in Victoria recently, the Victorian government announced some stamp duty concessions. And so this is the type of direction that we're going to push in, just so we can get the feedback going with consumers in a live environment to test that we're heading in the right direction. And so obviously on the search results page, which is the left-hand side, we're indicating that stamp duty concessions are available. And then we've got a mock execution of how this would show up on the project profile page itself. Obviously a small articulation of what the offer is about, but ultimately with a really strong call to action about inquiring today. And then we would deep link that person directly into the inquiries experience. Now I'll pass it across to Tara to talk a little bit about what's going on in privacy.
Thanks so much, Kane. Really appreciate it. Wow, that was we had some really great insights from Jared. We had some amazing information from Kane. And now I'm just going to quickly talk about a little bit about data privacy best practices before we get into the Q&A. Next slide, Mats, please. It's important in today's age to know that when you protect your client's data, you protect your reputation. With tightening privacy regulations and over 76% of Australians experiencing harm from a data breach, consumer expectations around data usage and management are shifting. According to our recent 2024 Property Seeker Report, 51% of sellers find it important to choose somebody who handles their data responsibly. And that really feeds into buyers, that feeds into anybody who basically interacts with your properties as well. So for our industry, which doesn't always have the best reputation overall, data privacy isn't just a compliance issue, it's a trust issue. And really building that trust early on and feeding some of the ways that you can do that is going to be more important than ever. Next slide, Mads, please. So some of the ways that we're doing that here at realestate.com.au, and some of the ways that we kind of suggest that, and I know that some of you already have some of these practices put into place, which is fantastic. This is kind of a refresher course then for you. For others, this might be a great reminder that it's time to maybe look at some of the practices that you've put into place. So first, be upfront about how you'll use their data. The first time you receive any kind of data that comes through, whether that's through inquiry or somebody filling out a form on a website or even in person, that's the point that you can inform them exactly how that data can be used. So will they be kept up to date? Let them know what's in it for them. The benefits and the value, that's how you really can start to increase that trust, is I will give you something in return if you give me something that's considered valuable, your information, your data in return. And for realestate.com.au, we've built on that on a simplified privacy center. So we've kind of removed all of this legal jargon. We're trying to be as transparent as possible on how we use data. And that's another thing to rethink about is looking at how you communicate with people and thinking about, are you using easy to understand simplified language so that people really can understand what it is that you're going to be doing with their data, what happens to it, where it goes, and if they can manage it. And that leads into that second point. Let them manage how they want to hear from you. 84% of Australians want more control and choice over how businesses collect and use their information. So give them the ability to start or stop hearing from you. People complain about unwanted communications, and so implementing a user-friendly preference center where clients can easily update their contact preferences is really important. And this really also will help minimize the risk of some of those data breaches that are out there. The ways that we're supporting that, users can easily access a preference center and change preferences on emails and notifications that we send to them. Next one, Mad. Last one, thanks. When should data be deleted? Sorry. When should data be deleted? Follow data retention rules and safely delete any unnecessary information once that transaction is complete. Or if you've got legacy data, revisit that. Did you collect it for a different project and now you've kind of kept it on hand for future projects that are coming down the road? Is that something that they actually want want to have happen, or do you maybe need to reach out to them to kind of reconfirm that they're okay with you continuing to have their information so that you can continue to communicate with them? Really think about how that works, and really think about what's considered truly essential versus non-essential information in your system. Keep only what's legally required. The way that REA supports this is that realestate.com.au currently limits access to uploaded documents in a rental application to 21 days and deletes rental applications after 3 months. And we have a retention policy that defines how long that we hold data, which also should be published in a privacy policy. Next slide, please. So, coming soon, but we don't have it out yet, there will be a privacy page where you can learn more and you can kind of compare your current privacy practices to some of the things that we're putting into place or have already put into place at realestate.com.au and some of those best practices. And that will be on the Customer Marketing Center at customer.realestate.com.au. In the meantime, though, really think about this piece. That transparency plus control equals trust in this privacy era. Consumers a lot of times can't see what's happening to their data, and they really don't like surprises. Many Australians have been involved with data misuse at some point, and almost half have experienced harm as a result. And so when you provide both transparency and control to consumers so that they can have options and choices of where and how their data is used, that is paramount to that trust piece. So this is just a friendly reminder. Please go revisit how you deal with people's information, how long you're holding on to that information, and if it's maybe some time to revisit some of the privacy controls that are out there. Next slide, please. It is time for Q&A, and I'm so excited because some people have already put some questions in. So I'm going to invite Kane and Jared back to turn on their cameras and their mics. And let's see which one we'll start with first. Kane, will the construction progress bar also be applicable to the land side of property? So, for example, PC, SOC, and title dates for each stage release.
The way we will cater for that in the first instance will be through the free-form text field. We won't explicitly allow you to mark specific dates connected to titled land at any particular time. But the way I think about this is we're getting out the V1 product. We want to start the learning process. We know this is valuable. We know that we can keep pushing in future directions or future iterations. Like one of the most obvious things that we want to do that will tie in project status is also news and updates and actually visually depict how things are actually progressing along the way. And so we've got a lot of ideas. If you've got something specific in mind, feel free to reach out to your account partner or come directly to me. I would love to hear more information about what you're actually looking for there, and we can throw that into the mix of consideration as we look to continue to evolve this feature once we launch V1.
This one, I don't know if it's going to be Jared or Kane, so I'll just ask it. Have there been any updates for house and land profile listings?
Yes. So everything that you have seen today, both from Jared and I, house and land are included. And so, we didn't have any visuals today on a lot of the large uplift work that Jared and the team have been doing. And similarly, in my section about some of those new features coming down the line, house and land are absolutely included. And actually, we've got some very exciting things that we're doing with child listings on the house and land project profile that you'll see shortly in one of our upcoming value drops.
Speaking of child listings, have you spoken to builders about supplying house facades, internal images, etc., so there's a catalog of images to choose from?
That's a very good call out. One of the things that we've done recently is we did a content audit where we manually reviewed every project profile that's on site, all 1,300. And we looked at things like logos, image resolution, and aspect ratio quality, and then all the cover photos, so on and so forth. And we had about a criteria of 8, of which slightly over 50% passed across those 8 key criteria. And so what that highlights to us, and Jared reinforced this through his presentation, is we've got more work to do. Like the power of the project and bringing the project to life is all about the media and the image quality and the copywriting that's associated with the listing. And so we can't push on you enough there. And then similarly, you're right. When there's a partnership between the developer and the builder, particularly in house and land, at that wedge of where our two subsegments intersect, yeah, we've got more work to be done, but our account partners are very clear on which particular projects need uplifting, and you can expect them to reach out directly to our customers as it relates to that particular topic.
We're pretty excited about this construction status update. They're wondering, when will it be implemented?
So we are looking to launch the product in the next couple of weeks. You might not hear about it because we're not going to put a big sort of go-to-market communication behind it as yet. We're going to wait, I think, until the new year where we like raise the awareness. But in the next couple of weeks, you'll have the ability to go into Ignite, give us that information, and it will start to show up on your project.
Team, will agent admin be removed and all actions be performed in Ignite moving forward, such as listing uploads, etc.?
Yeah, we've heard the pain points, the problem statements loud and clear. We are on that journey, and I would say it's probably in 12 months time directionally. Yes, agent admin will cease to exist as the portal that you interact with at all. Everything is going to be in Ignite, and the customer experiences that you go through in terms of your workflows today will all be contemporized, and it will all live in the Ignite self-service and customer portal. And we've got lots of exciting ideas that we're pushing into there. I think it's going to be a really interesting time as you start to see that evolve and be modernized within the Ignite experience.
Thanks, Kane. I'm going to throw it to Jared for a couple. Is virtual reality anticipated to be more of a consumer expectation for viewing properties online? And are you prepared for that?
Really love this question, and absolutely, we see a really exciting future to bring to life projects, new homes, future communities like never before using better technology. We've had a look at experiences in the Vision Pro. We've obviously worked in the market with Immersive, who do some amazing stuff with 3D. We really want to take advantage of the way in which technology can help our consumers experience what they're going to purchase. And we think the new homes market will get a lot of benefit from these advancements in technology. So 100%, we are all aboard the virtual reality train and want to do as much as possible to get something available for customers in the near term. I might just quickly build, Tara, on a previous question about
Absolutely.
the child listings for house and land and uploading more images or providing an increased catalogue. One of the things we do occasionally hear from resi agents is a concern that you don't want to put too many images in a listing. You want to have some element of surprise and delight at the open home. Our data tells us the absolute opposite. Whether it's 8 images, 10 images, 15 images, never limit the number of images you upload. We would encourage beyond 20 to 25. We see that consumers really love and value more and more imagery and a better understanding of a home before they physically attend or inspect. So we want to do more to better organize the content for builders, to allow different types of visuals to be used and different ways to bring to life your optionality when you're building a new home. But as a default starting point, just upload as much of that content as possible because consumers will appreciate it and it will help them make better choices.
That's really amazing insights. Thank you for that. One last one, I think for you, how long is it going to take to complete the next gen updates to project profiles and listings?
So in my mind, this is an always on and will remain an always on for realestate.com.au. We just know how valuable great listings are for our buyers and also for our customers to be able to showcase and maximize their campaigns. What I will say though is we are going through a concerted phase of investment where we're spending a lot of energy in the near term, making many more significant advancements to our listings. Expect that to continue for the next 6 to 12 months. Outside of that, we will then move into a phase of being always on and continually uplifting and optimizing what's possible. So it's never going to be a set and forget, put it on the shelf, we're done now. We can see how quickly consumer needs are evolving. We can see how quickly technology is improving. We can see how quickly our customers are leveling up and embracing digital. That means that we will be on this journey for some time to come, and we can't wait to show you some of the specific things we're launching in the next 6 months.
Exciting. This is, I think, maybe for both of you. We didn't hear much about retire. So are there not a lot of updates happening? Is that something you're thinking about? Are there any future plans in that space?
Yeah,
I'll go first, and then Kane, you can jump in and improve my answer. So retire is a really important segment for us as a business and for the nation. If we think about property and our, I guess, aging demographics, we know that there's an increasing demand for an understanding of where to in your property journey later in life. As part of this change, we are elevating all listings. So we've talked about this already, project profiles, through to resi listings, through to house and land listings, through to retirement, are all getting the same lick of paint, the same improvements. So you'll be able to stand out and communicate your listing or your project that's aimed at retirees like never before. The other bit that's really, really valuable, and I talked briefly about the role of AI, we are getting better and better at understanding the needs of our audience and capturing signals of their intent through the listing. That is a very big opportunity for retirement. There is qualification and eligibility factors that play into retirement that don't affect other types of properties. Therefore, we need to ensure we're curating the content and making the information available relevant to the right consumers. So when I think about the way in which we can apply AI, better matching, better data to help those consumers find what they're needing, I see a really great opportunity for retire. So it's a segment we're really, really excited to unlock and do more with. Kane, over to you.
no, spot on, Jared. I think you nailed most of it. I'll only just add one small piece. Yeah, so everything, a little bit like house and land, everything that you saw today, retire is getting the magic, as Jared alluded to. One of the pieces where we haven't sort of like cracked the code on the retire need just yet, and we need to do more homework, we need to speak to more customers and then put that in front of some prospective retirees, is both that project status, because I think it's going to look very different to apartments, land estates, and house and land. So more work to be done, but it's definitely in our plans. And then similarly, offers and promotions. One thing that has become clear, though, when we did some initial work relating to that project status, was news, updates, and events are very important with keeping prospective retirees thinking about moving into a new location and keeping them connected to the community while they're in the waiting list. And so, yeah, there's lots of opportunities there. You'll start to see some of those other sub features that I mentioned where retire isn't part of the V1 start to show up in V2 and V3 iterations of the product.
Awesome. Wow, that is, I think we got almost as much information from the Q&A as we did from the presentations today. That's fantastic. Thank you so much for all your wonderful questions. We really appreciate it, and we really appreciate that you took the time to join us today for this.